At my grandmother's funeral, something happened that still keeps me up at night. Grandma Rose's casket was under the oak trees at Pinewood Cemetery. Flowers everywhere, people wiping their eyes. Then her attorney, Mr. Henderson, walked up to me holding something old, dusty, smelling like attic memories, a rolled-up canvas. "Your grandmother wanted you to have this," he said quietly. Before I could unroll it, my dad snatched it from my hands. He stared at the painting for 5 seconds and let out a loud, bitter laugh that cut through the quiet cemetery air. "This piece of junk," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is what Mom left you?" It was a painting of a red barn, fields around it, faded, cracked, frame chipped. Honestly, nothing special at first glance. Then, in front of 60 people, my dad threw it onto Grandma's grave. "Let it stay buried," he said. "It's trash, just like everything in that old farmhouse she refused to sell." His wife Cheryl covered her mouth, trying not to smile. Stepbrother Jake filmed it, grinning like it was some kind of joke. Everyone froze. Everyone stayed quiet. I didn't. I walked forward, picked up that painting, brushed the dirt off the frame, held it against my chest. "You want that garbage? Fine, that's your inheritance," Dad said. "Don't come crying when you realize it's worthless." 3 days later, I carried it to Richmond and Associates Fine Art Appraisers in Philadelphia. The woman at the desk looked at it, set down her coffee, picked up her phone, hands shaking. "What's wrong?" I asked. She leaned in, magnifying glass over the corner of the canvas, then whispered, "This isn't just a painting, it's a map." "A map?" I didn't understand yet, but that moment, the moment I realized Grandma Rose had left me more than just art, changed everything. Before we go further, like if you're hooked, comment where you're from, and subscribe, because what happens next, nobody saw coming. Every Saturday for years, I drove down Route 19 to Grandma Rose's farmhouse. White, 2-story, peeling paint, wraparound porch that sagged, fields stretching back to the trees. You couldn't miss it. My dad always said the same thing. "Mom's sitting on a worthless piece of land. That house is falling apart. She should sell before it collapses." I didn't go because she needed help. I went because Grandma Rose was the only person who made me feel like I mattered. Not for what I could do, just because I existed. Our routine was simple. I'd bring groceries from Hartman's Market, good coffee, not the cheap stuff. She'd have biscuits in the oven. I'd fix a leaky faucet or a stubborn door. Then we'd sit on the porch with sweet tea, and she'd tell me stories about my mom, stories nobody else ever told. Mom had died when I was 9, heart attack. Suddenly, she was gone. Dad couldn't handle it. He sent me to live with Grandma Rose for 2 years while he got back on his feet. When he married Cheryl, he brought me back, not because he missed me. Cheryl said it looked bad if his daughter lived with Grandma Rose instead of him. Cheryl had a son, Jake, 3 years younger than me. He got the big upstairs room. I got the converted storage room off the kitchen. Jake got a truck at 17. I bought a beat-up Honda with waitressing money. But Grandma Rose, she had this one painting in the living room, the barn painting. I asked her about it once when I was 12. "Grandma, why do you keep that old painting? It's faded." She smiled, that quiet, secret smile. "That painting's got a story, sweetheart. Someday I'll tell you." She never did. About 6 months before she passed, my dad started showing up at her house unannounced, sitting at her kitchen table saying things like, "Mom, let me handle the property taxes. Let me manage the house expenses." Every time she said no, polite, firm. Once, after he left, I saw her hands trembling as she locked a metal box in the closet. She caught me watching. "Just old paperwork, honey," she said, but she didn't look at me. Spring came. Grandma Rose got pneumonia, Greenfield General Hospital. I rearranged my teaching schedule, spent every night at her bedside. Dad visited once, 11 minutes. Cheryl didn't come at all. Jake showed up one afternoon, looked around like he was taking inventory, and asked, "So, Grandma, what happens to the farm?" Grandma Rose closed her eyes, didn't answer. He left. 3 weeks before she died, during one of my Saturday visits, she grabbed my hand, weak, desperate. "Sarah, When I'm gone, don't let your father touch that painting. You hear me? Don't let him throw it away. I promised. I didn't know why it mattered. I didn't know that painting wasn't just a painting. September 14th, Saturday morning. I pulled into Grandma Rose's driveway like I did every week for 4 years, but something felt off. The porch light was on, even though the sun had been up for an hour. That wasn't like her. The front door was unlocked, the kitchen cold, no coffee brewing, no biscuits in the oven. I found her in her bedroom, sitting in her rocking chair by the window, hands folded, eyes closed. She looked peaceful, almost like she had just drifted off watching the sunrise over the fields. But the room was too still. No creak of the rocking chair, no sound of breathing. I sat on the edge of her bed and held her hand, cool, stiff. I didn't cry at first. I just sat there, in that quiet farmhouse that smelled like lavender sachets and old wood floors, trying to process it. I called 911, then I called Dad. He showed up 90 minutes later. Cheryl wasn't with him. And the first thing out of his mouth wasn't, "How are you?" or "Are you okay?" It was, "Did she leave any paperwork? A will?" I stared at him. "Dad, she's right there, in the bedroom." "I know, Sarah, but we need to figure out what she had. This house, the land, there's gotta be something." He started searching. While Grandma Rose's body was still in the next room, Dad went through her desk drawers, filing cabinet, closet, looking for something specific. I remembered the metal box in the hallway closet, checked it, empty. Whatever she had kept, she'd moved or hidden. The funeral was held at Grace Community Church on Elm Street, small white chapel. Grandma Rose had sung in the choir there for 38 years. About 60 people showed up. In a town of 4,000, that's almost everybody. Dad wore a new dark suit. Cheryl wore expensive black. Jake had his earpods in and kept scrolling on his phone. Dad gave a speech that made my stomach twist. "My mother lived a simple life," he said, voice thick. "She didn't have much, just that old farmhouse and some land, but she had love. That's what mattered." His voice cracked on the word love. Cheryl dabbed her eyes. People whispered, "Robert's such a devoted son." I sat there, second row, quiet, knowing the truth. He hadn't called her on her birthday. He hadn't visited when she was sick. He'd ransacked her house looking for documents while her body was still warm. But this was his show. Robert Bennett had always been good at putting on a show. After the service at the cemetery, Mr. Henderson approached me with a rolled-up canvas. That's when everything I thought I knew about my family began to unravel. That evening, I drove back to my dad's house on Oakwood Drive, the house I'd been living in for the past 8 months while trying to save up. Porch light off, door locked. I knocked. Cheryl answered, barely cracking the door. "Jake needs that room for his gaming setup," she said flatly. "Your dad agrees it's time you found your own place." "You're kicking me out? Tonight? The night of Grandma's funeral?" "You're 28, Sarah. You've got a job. Figure it out." Dad appeared behind her, arms crossed. "Don't be dramatic. You knew this was temporary." I had $900 in my checking account, not enough for first month, last month, and a security deposit anywhere in Greenfield. I didn't argue. I loaded my boxes into my beat-up Honda and drove to my friend Emily's apartment across town. Emily opened the door, took one look at me, and pulled me inside. "Couch is yours as long as you need it," she said. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept going back to that painting, leaning against the wall in the corner. Grandma Rose's barn, faded, cracked, worthless, my dad had said. But why had she insisted I keep it? Why had Dad been so furious? The next morning, I Googled art appraisers near me. One name popped up, Richmond and Associates, Philadelphia, 40-minute drive. I called. A woman answered. "Do you appraise old paintings?" I asked. "Depends on the piece. Can you send a photo?" I sent it. Less than 5 minutes later, she called back. "Bring it in, today if you can." The appraisal office was in Old City, Philadelphia. Brick building, smelled like old books and furniture polish. Victoria Richmond greeted me, about 50, glasses on a chain, firm handshake. She let me see it, she said. I unrolled the canvas on her desk. She put on white gloves, examined the corners, the back of the frame, held it up to the light. Then she grabbed a magnifying glass and leaned close to the bottom right corner. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What? What is it?" She pointed to tiny lettering I'd never noticed, almost invisible. "It's a code," she said slowly. "Not just the artist name, a property marker. Pennsylvania 1940s era." My heart started pounding. "Meaning what?" I asked. "This painting isn't just a painting, it's a map. Your grandmother didn't leave you artwork, she left you a secret." The room felt smaller suddenly. My grandmother's words echoed in my head. "Don't let your father touch that painting." Now I understood. That painting wasn't trash, it was everything. Victoria pulled up a historical property database on her computer. My eyes followed every keystroke, heart racing. "Type in the code from the painting," she said. I did. An old hand-drawn map appeared on the screen. Boundaries, acreage numbers, even township names I recognized. "This survey code corresponds to a 240-acre parcel," Victoria said, scrolling. "Registered in 1947. Original owner, William Bennett. My grandfather. He had died years before I was born." "Where's the land?" I asked, leaning closer. Victoria zoomed in. My stomach sank. "Route 19 corridor, about 3 miles north of Greenfield town limits." I knew that area. Commercial development everywhere. Gas stations, strip malls, a Home Depot, a Walmart. "That can't be right," I whispered. Victoria shook her head. "Development doesn't erase ownership. Someone owns the land. They lease it out." She typed some more. The number that appeared made me sit down. Estimated value, $4.7 million. I stared at the screen. Grandma Rose had lived simply in her sagging farmhouse, yet she had secretly owned millions worth of property. Maybe she wanted to, or maybe she was protecting something. She printed a copy of the map. "You need to check with the Greenfield County Recorder's Office. See who currently owns this parcel. Your grandmother's painting wasn't just a gift, it was a guide." I drove straight there. Small brick building on Jefferson Street. 2 floors, smelled of old paper and coffee. The clerk, a kind-faced woman in her 60s, looked up. "I need to check property records for this parcel." I slid the map across the counter. She typed, frowned. That's unusual." "What is?" I asked. "This property has been in a trust since 1985, the Bennett Family Land Trust." My hands went cold. "Who's the trustee?" "Rose Bennett, until her death, 3 days ago. Then it transferred to the named beneficiary." "Who?" My voice trembled. "Sarah Ann Bennett." "That's you." I stared, my head spinning. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I don't even know what to say." She clicked a few more buttons. "It's leased to 4 commercial tenants. Monthly income, $18,000. $216,000 a year." I did the math. For how many years? Grandma Rose had quietly been collecting hundreds of thousands in rent, hidden from everyone. "Can I get copies of all records?" I asked, voice shaky. "Sure, honey, give me a few minutes." As I sat there, flipping through the thick folder she handed me, it hit me. The barn painting, the faded fields. My father had called it garbage and thrown it on her grave, but that painting had been my grandmother's secret message, a map, a treasure, and proof that she trusted me, not him. I felt a mix of disbelief and triumph. Grandma Rose had outsmarted my dad completely, leaving him in the dark while securing my future. I tucked the folder under my arm and stepped out into the late afternoon sunlight. Greenfield looked the same, quiet streets, familiar houses, but nothing would ever feel the same again. because I had uncovered the first clue, and the next step, revealing the full truth about my father's desperation and his disastrous choices. I made one mistake. I told Emily everything that night. She gasped, hugged me, then did what friends do. She told her sister. Her sister told her husband. And suddenly the news wasn't just between us. It spread. Fast. By the next evening, my phone rang. It was my dad. "Sarah, we need to talk about Mom's estate." "There's nothing to talk about, Dad," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Don't play games with me. I heard about the land. That property should have been mine. I'm her son." My blood ran cold. "She put it in a trust, with my name on it?" There was silence on the line. Then his voice dropped, lower, desperate. "You don't understand. I need that land. I've got people waiting." "What people?" He hung up. 20 minutes later, Cheryl called. Her voice was sweet, fake sweet, the tone people use when they want something. "Sarah, honey, your father's going through a tough time financially. He was counting on Grandma Rose's estate. Sharing would be the right thing to do. Family does that." "Grandma Rose made her decision," I snapped. "She was old, Sarah, confused. She didn't understand what she was signing. She knew exactly what she was doing." Click. The next day, my Uncle Tim called, my dad's younger brother, a real estate lawyer in Pittsburgh. "Sarah, listen, I'm not taking sides, but I think you should know something about your dad." "What?" 2 years ago, Robert came to me, asked me to convince Mom to sell that Route 19 land, said she was sitting on a gold mine, wasting it. He wanted me to draw up sale papers. My chest tightened. "What did you do?" I told him Mom was mentally sharp. It was her decision. He got angry, said I was choosing her over him. Then he made a deal with a developer, took a $50,000 advance payment. I felt like the floor had dropped beneath me. He spent money he didn't have? Worse, he gambled it, lost most of it at the Meadows Casino outside Pittsburgh. The developer's been calling, demanding the land or their money back. Your dad is $70,000 deep. Everything clicked. His desperate attitude at the funeral, his search of Grandma Rose's house, the painting he threw on her grave. He wasn't careless, he was cornered. Grandma Rose had seen it all. She'd known he'd gamble, cheat, lie. She'd protected the assets, protected me. That weekend, my dad arranged what he called a family gathering at Oakwood Drive. I wasn't invited, but cousin Lisa texted me. "Sarah, your dad's telling everyone you manipulated Grandma Rose. Half the family believes him." Then another message came, from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Dale Hoffman. I'm the developer your father promised the land to. If I don't get it, I'm suing. Thought you should know." I screenshotted it, saved it. Everything was unraveling for him. His lies, his greed, his gambling, and my grandmother's painting, the one he called trash, was the proof of her plan. Grandma Rose hadn't just protected her assets, she'd set a trap, and my dad had walked right into it. Let me pause the story here for a second and ask you something. If your own father tried to steal from your grandmother twice, failed both times, and then acted like the victim when he got caught, would you try to make peace, or would you stand your ground? Drop a comment below and tell me honestly, because this is exactly what I faced. At this point, I was getting calls from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. Everyone had the same message. Family is family, Sarah. Your dad made mistakes, but he's still your dad. Don't let money destroy what's left of this family. Except it wasn't me destroying anything. The family was already fractured. I was just finally seeing it clearly. A week later, I got a certified letter in the mail. Grandma Rose's farmhouse and all her belongings were being scheduled for auction to settle what my father called estate debts. The auction was set for Saturday, October 28th at Hartman's Auction House on Main Street. I called Mr. Henderson immediately. "What estate debts? The land trust pays out. There's no debt." He sighed. "Your father filed a claim. He says your grandmother owed him money, $15,000 for home repairs he claims he paid over the years." "That's a lie." "I know, but he filed it officially. The court has to process it. The auction is a formality to establish value of her personal property. So he's trying to take the farmhouse? He can't touch the land trust. That's locked tight. But the house itself, her furniture, her belongings, those are fair game until the claim is resolved. My stomach twisted. I couldn't let strangers walk through her home, tear apart everything she'd cherished, and turn it into a sale. But I knew one thing my dad didn't. Small towns talk, and Greenfield had been talking all week. People knew about the property trust now. They knew about the forged loan application. They knew my dad had thrown a painting on his mother's grave and called it garbage. In a town of 4,000, reputation is everything. Saturday morning came cold and gray. I put on my black coat, grabbed the folder of documents from the recorder's office, and drove to Hartman's auction house. The parking lot was full, cars spilling onto the street. This wasn't just an estate auction anymore. This was a reckoning. Hartman's auction house was a converted barn on Main Street, with wooden floors and folding chairs set up in rows. Normally, these Saturday auctions had maybe 20 people, antique dealers, collectors, bargain hunters. Today, there were at least 80 people packed inside. I spotted neighbors from Grandma Rosa's street, women from her church choir, Mr. Peterson, the hardware store owner, and at the back, Emily, giving me a thumbs up. Up front, in the first row, sat my dad, Cheryl, and Jake. My dad looked sharp in a suit, Cheryl clinging to his arm like the devoted wife, and Jake filming everything on his phone. The auctioneer, Bill Hartman, shuffled papers at the podium, clearly uncomfortable. "All right, folks," he said, "we're here for the estate auction of Rose Bennett. Before we begin, there's a claim filed by Robert Bennett regarding estate debts. Robert, would you like to speak?" My dad stood, clearing his throat like he was about to give a sermon. "Thank you, Bill," he said. "This isn't easy. My mother lived a simple life, but toward the end, she needed help. I paid for roof repairs, a new furnace, plumbing, out of my own pocket because I loved her." Some heads nodded, a few murmured sympathy. "I'm not here to take anything from anyone. I just want what's fair, $15,000. That's all." He sat down. Cheryl smiled at him. Jake kept recording. The auctioneer turned to me. "Sarah, you're listed as the primary heir. Do you have a response?" I stood, heart pounding, legs shaky, but voice steady. "Yes." I walked to the front and set my folder on the podium. "My father claims he spent $15,000 on home repairs for Grandma Rosa's house. Here are the receipts." I held up a stack of papers, repair invoices, all paid by Grandma Rose herself, signed with her checks. New roof, 2018, paid by Grandma Rose Bennett. Furnace replacement, 2020, paid by Grandma Rose Bennett. Plumbing repair, 2021, paid by Grandma Rose Bennett. The room went silent. Dad shot up. Those could be faked. Sarah's trying to..." "I'm not done, Dad," I said. I pulled out the letter from the county records office. In March 2019, someone tried to file a quitclaim deed to transfer Grandma Rosa's commercial property into my father's name. It was rejected. The property is in a trust. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. And in June 2020, someone submitted a loan application using that property as collateral. Signature forged, denied by the bank. Both attempts were made by Robert Bennett. My dad's face went pale. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I laid the documents on the podium. My grandmother kept every letter, every record, every receipt, not out of spite, but because she wanted the truth to come out. The crowd was buzzing. Neighbors leaned forward. Mrs. Patterson from the church whispered, "I knew it. He was always greedy." Uncle Tim, sitting in the third row, stood slowly. "Robert, did you forge Rose's signature?" All eyes on my father. His jaw worked, but no words came out. The silence said it all. Cheryl grabbed her purse, ready to leave, but the auctioneer held up an envelope. He said, "There's one more item, a letter from Rose Bennett, to be read publicly." My heart stopped. Everyone went quiet. The whole town leaned in. Bill Hartman carefully opened the envelope. He unfolded 2 pages of neat cursive handwriting, the handwriting I recognized instantly. Grandma Rose's. To the people of Greenfield, Bill began reading aloud, his voice steady. If you're hearing this, I'm gone, and my son Robert is probably standing there making himself out to be a victim. A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. My dad's face turned red. Bill continued, I want to set the record straight. I didn't leave my land to Sarah because I was confused or manipulated. I left it to her because she earned it. Not with money, not with favors, with time, with Saturdays, with showing up when nobody else did. I felt tears sting my eyes. Robert is my son, and I love him, but love doesn't mean letting someone destroy what's rightfully theirs. My son has struggled with gambling since his 20s. He's lost jobs, savings, and nearly his family. Cheryl's face went pale. She looked like she might faint. Jake's phone wavered in his hands. In 2018, Robert asked me for $50,000 for a business investment. I knew it wasn't for business. I said no. He didn't speak to me for 6 months. The room was silent. Every head turned toward my father. In 2019, he tried to take my land by forging documents. In 2020, he tried using the same land for a loan without my permission. Both times I caught him. Both times I didn't press charges because he is my son. But I also would not let him destroy what I had built. That land has been in this family for 76 years. My throat tightened. I gripped the edge of the podium. It provided for this family when times were hard. It paid for Robert's college, for Sarah's school supplies. I lived simply, but I protected it. Not from strangers, but from my own son. Bill paused, then turned the page. Sarah doesn't know this yet, but I've been putting money aside for her since she was 9 years old. A separate account under the Trust's educational fund. There's $48,000 for her future. I gasped. I hadn't seen that part in the trust documents yet. To my son, Robert, I leave the farmhouse, the furniture, my Bible, the quilt on my bed. If you care for memories, you'll care for these. But the land stays with Sarah. She is the one who will protect it. Bill folded the letter carefully. Signed, Rose Eleanor Bennett, September 10th. Witnessed by Timothy Bennett and Bill Hartman. Uncle Tim, sitting in the 3rd row, nodded slowly. I witnessed it. She knew exactly what she was doing. The room stayed silent. My dad was frozen, staring at nothing. Cheryl walked out without a word. Jake followed. Even the neighbors were quiet. Then Mrs. Patterson from Grandma Rose's choir started clapping. Slowly the clapping spread. Emily joined, then Uncle Tim. Half the room erupted in applause. But they weren't clapping for me. They were clapping for Grandma Rose, for her wisdom, for her foresight, for protecting what mattered, for telling the truth, finally. I felt a strange mix of triumph and sorrow. My father had been exposed. The truth was out. But most of all, Grandma Rose had won. Her land was safe, her granddaughter was protected, and her legacy honored. The auction ended quietly. No bids were placed on the farmhouse. My dad withdrew his claim the same afternoon. Uncle Tim pulled him aside in the parking lot and said, "You've embarrassed this family enough, Robert. Walk away before it gets worse." And he did. The farmhouse became mine by default, but I didn't move in right away. Walking through those rooms felt like stepping into a museum of memories. The lavender scent from Grandma Rose's soap, the warmth of the sun on the porch, the quiet hum of a house that had held 4 generations, it was all there. But there was one thing I did first. I took the painting, the same painting my father had thrown onto Grandma Rose's grave, laughing at it like it was worthless. I hung it back in its rightful place above the fireplace, where it had been for 40 years. Now, every time I look at it, I don't see a faded red barn. I see a map, a guide, a grandmother's love, a lesson in patience, loyalty, and foresight. My father and I don't speak. He moved to Harrisburg 6 months after the auction. Cheryl filed for divorce in December. Jake lives with his biological father in Ohio now. I heard through Uncle Tim that my dad is in therapy. He's working on his gambling, trying to rebuild his life. I hope he succeeds. I really do. But I also learned something from Grandma Rose that I'll carry forever. Loving someone doesn't mean letting them hurt you. Sometimes protecting yourself is the truest form of love. I still teach 5th grade at Mapingwood Elementary. The land trust pays out monthly, and I invest most of it the way Grandma Rose would have wanted. I even used some to fix the farmhouse. New porch, fresh paint, a roof that doesn't leak anymore. I moved in last spring, and now, every Saturday morning, I make biscuits. Grandma Rose's recipe, the one she never wrote down, but I watched her make 100 times. I sit on that porch with sweet tea in the same spot where we spent hours together. Sometimes Emily stops by, sometimes Uncle Tim drops in. Sometimes I sit alone, listening to the wind sweep across the fields, thinking about all the Saturdays that led me here. People ask me if I feel guilty about what happened to my dad. Honestly, some days, yes. He's still my father. He read me bedtime stories, taught me to ride a bike, and loved me in the ways he could. But Grandma Rose didn't leave me that land out of spite. She left it to ensure it was protected, to ensure that I, her granddaughter, would understand the value of loyalty, perseverance, and truth. That painting wasn't just worth millions. It was worth the lessons, the legacy, and the love behind every careful stroke of color. If this story meant anything to you, leave a comment. Tell me if you've ever had to choose between family pressure and doing what's right. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the people who truly love you don't ask you to give up what you've earned. They protect it for you, even after they're gone. Take care of the people who show up.